What do you see when you look at this, doctor?
The normal thing would be to try to understand why. And so there you're disciplined, is it genetic, is it mental illness, which illness? And in agreement with Dr. Phil, I would encourage you to get out of that completely. It's not going to help. That's just not how it works in most of psychiatry. And so the switches to the Dr. Phil's purpose here, what can we do? And I think there's a lot.
Let's talk about the two steps that we've discussed.
So I think there are two really viable options that really deserve attention. So the first one's called behavior analysis. And there are people around the country who are specially trained in this. And it's important you have someone specially trained in this. And what it amounts to, it's a treatment that's being used heavily for autism. And that's not why I'm suggesting it at all. Okay, we're avoiding the diagnostic issues here. And here's what the overall goal is, and here's how they get there. The overall goal is to try to get control of different amounts of the child's behavior and your day. So it's not going to be a nice magic wand on day one, and you recognize it now. What it's going to be is that, in fact, we can get rid of those tantrums in the morning. What about the afternoons? What about on the weekend? No. We can get rid of those too. But first, we've got to do this way. And so we're going to do some things with applied behavior analysis that you'd never otherwise do. And I'll give an example. May I go to the second one?
Please.
The second one is parent management training. It'll amount to things like how you say things to the child, when you give the child choice. And it'll have you not do certain things. So for example, when you're angry and mad at your child, if you get physically in contact, if I hug you and grab you, that's likely to lead you to get hit.
Let me give you the country bumpkin version of what our Yale boy is talking about over here. It's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant? Well, you just grab an ear and start chewing. You can't fix everything at once. There's no miracle drug. There's no miracle pill. There's no miracle injection. You target a behavior and you get that one under control. And it may be triggered by time of day. It may be triggered by food. It may be triggered by any number of things. We don't know. But you will find that, and then you break down that behavior and your response to it, and you work on that. And you go, wow, we've eliminated that as a crisis point during the day. Now we move on to the next thing, and we move on to the next thing. But what Dr. Kasdan is saying is this is a very specialized, stepwise process for which people are vertically trained. I'm not trained in that. But there are people around the country that are, and that's what's going to have to happen here. That's the first thing you would do, correct?
May I give an example to show you how strange it will appear to you? There are many procedures, and one of them that'll look like it's the most odd would be something that we would call, in my place, a tantrum game. Take Steve at his best time. It looks like everything's calm and everyone's fine. And now start a game in which you actually practice a good tantrum. You explain to him you make a game out of it. We've done this 100 times, so this is not something that's rocket science, but it's not familiar. And you practice this game. You provide some praise, some rewards. Has to be done in a very special way. You can't just say, good. It's not going to work. It's got to be done in a very special way. And then you practice it. Why do you practice it? Because the changes that we would want to make in your child are very much like the changes you would make if you were learning how to play piano. We're going to work on scales. We're going to work on chords. Each time you practice, you change the brain. And so we're working, practice, repeated trials. And that's how we get the good tantrum. And then you stretch it out over time, and then you move on to something else. It's exactly like Phil said, one ear at a time.
And see, and that's counterintuitive because your thought would be, he's quiet, let sleeping dogs lie. Last thing I want to do is go play tantrum game with him. What I want to do is take a deep breath and lean against the wall. And that's why this has to have a lot of help to take you through this.